Hey everybody, Dan here with Pain Free You. So I'm back from Nashville. It was a fun trip. No videos from there because I recorded a whole bunch before I left, so I didn't have to bring the camera and have to focus on work while I was there. So today's topic is going to be, some of you might not like this, trigger intentionally to teach. So we'll get to that in a minute. Let your body relax. It sends a message to your subconscious that says, I'm good. Look, my body's relaxed. Breathe. All right. So, the concept is to trigger intentionally to teach. Trigger what, Dan? Trigger symptoms. And this kind of goes along with the line of bring it on, right? You may have heard me talk about that at one point or another, or maybe have heard that concept in the realm of, panic attacks or anxiety, like bring it on, make it worse. And, that concept has been played around with in the chronic pain world. One of the reasons that bring it on technique is fairly effective is that by saying, all right, brain, come on, bring it on. Give me more pain, give me more panic, give me more anxiety, is because you are saying, I'm not afraid. And since the perception of danger is what is really the undercurrent of this entire set of symptoms, showing the brain I'm not afraid by asking for more is often quite effective. Now, the key is doing that without being terrified of the brain actually listening to you, right? So when we say bring it on, if we're doing it in a terrified way, might not go so well. But that's okay because it's not harmful, even if it doesn't go well. So this concept that I'm just exploring today and looking for feedback in the comments is trigger intentionally to teach. So this whole trigger intentionally is the polar opposite of avoidance. And for anybody who's had symptoms for a long time, we all have a tendency to go into avoidance mode. I'm going to do everything possible never to feel that sensation ever again. Avoid, avoid, avoid. Oh, if sitting's painful, I'm not going to sit. If laying's painful, I'm not going to lay. If this is painful, I'm not going to do that. If this creates digestive systems, I'm never going to eat that. I'm never going to expose myself to anything that causes discomfort. And we get into this avoidance. And what that essentially does is teach the brain, or it confirms the brain's perception that those things we're now avoiding, they're the problem. They're dangerous. And so, avoidance just confirms we're in trouble. So when I'm introducing this concept called trigger intentionally to teach, what are we trying to do? We're trying to teach the brain that these things are not harmful. They're not, in fact, dangerous. So, for example, if you have sitting pain, trigger the pain intentionally to prove that you're okay, to teach your brain something. Now, you can certainly teach in a more effective way than others, right? I'm not suggesting we jump butt first onto a hard wooden chair to teach our brain something, because the brain may go, ouch, right? But it goes back to the graded exposure, all right? The biggest opportunity you've got to teach your brain that you're actually okay is while you're actually experiencing sensations or symptoms. Because if you don't experience and you're avoiding everything, the only thing you're teaching your brain is those things are dangerous. So I think it's really important to begin to teach the brain, number one, the activity is not dangerous. And number two, even if sensations show up, that doesn't mean anything bad happened. It just means the brain is sounding that alarm. So the concept of triggering the symptoms intentionally in order to teach your brain is along the lines of the only opportunity to learn something new about the sensations and teach the brain that we're actually safe is while you're experiencing symptoms. Avoidance is not the answer. That just shrinks your world until it's this big, right? Many people avoid so much that they end up bedridden, housebound, not doing anything. And that can be really disconcerting because, it doesn't leave us with much of a life. But the avoidance, which is perfectly understandable, and I think everybody gets into that mode of trying to avoid symptoms. But avoiding symptoms doesn't make the brain feel safer. Because at some point, let's say you avoid symptoms and you do it just right and you don't experience any for a while. What happens when you start to resume activity and get back to life? Symptoms are going to be there waiting for you because you've taught the brain exceptionally well that those things you're avoiding are the problem. So the only way to reverse that and teach the brain that those things that trigger symptoms are safe is to actually do those things, allow the brain to create the symptoms, and choose your response. When you can respond by saying, I know what that is, that's nothing significant. The brain is just perceiving this activity or food or smell or something as dangerous. But by you going, I know what it is, I'm calling it out for what it is. And I'm unafraid of it. And I'm unafraid of the sensation or symptom. And I'm going to remain calm because I know what it is. And hey, brain, come on, get on board with me here. We're actually okay. It's really important. Our biggest opportunity to learn something new is while we are experiencing symptoms. I've said before, you need to be willing to experience symptoms if you want to get rid of symptoms. Because avoidance is definitely not the solution. It just shrinks your world, and the symptoms are going to show up when you eventually try to do the things you've been avoiding. So you may as well trigger the symptoms intentionally up front in order to begin teaching your brain that even if symptoms show up, that activity is not dangerous because you respond to symptoms accurately, with insight, knowledge, knowing. That's what that is. It's not a big problem. It's a sensation. It's not danger. It's not proof of harm. It's not proof of damage. Does this make sense? I certainly hope it does. And I'm definitely not suggesting we go out there and torture ourselves by doing the worst possible things to trigger symptoms. I think we can do it gradually, expecting the best, reassuring ourselves of the best, but doing the things we're afraid of so that the symptoms can be experienced and so that we can respond in a way that teaches the brain, I know what that is. I'm not concerned. Come on, brain, work with me. We're going to learn that sitting, standing, walking, running, jogging, lifting weights, whatever, is not in fact dangerous. Come on, brain, work with me. I know you're overprotective. I know you're scared. I know you love me and you're doing the best to keep me safe. But I'm going to show you I'm actually okay. We're going to do that by doing these things that might bring up some symptoms. And if you do, I'm going to remind you, Mr. or Mrs. Brain, that nothing bad is happening. Let that sink in. Trigger intentionally to teach. Get into situations where you may experience symptoms so that your brain can learn something. So I'm going to wrap it up there. I hope everybody's doing well. And I guess we'll see you tomorrow. Take care, everybody. Love you.